everyone, welcome to this update video. I trust and hope you're doing really good this morning. Now we're going to get straight into what is going on. So we've got our tropical disturbance out there well to the east of the Windward Islands, and it is disorganized right now. It's associated with a tropical wave that's propagating towards the west. But what is very concerning is the recent trend among main models, even the ensembles as well. We could have a long-term hurricane in the Caribbean, and we're going to get into that in a moment. But coming off of Africa is another tropical wave. We can see all of that activity, and we can also see that one try to get itself together over the course of the coming week or so. And then as we look to the Caribbean, we can see lots of scattered showers, thunderstorms around. Some of that in the eastern Caribbean is associated with another tropical wave that has entered the region. And as for the rest of the islands, for most of us, it's a pretty steady morning, nothing much going on. But of course, we should see things get a little bit more active as we head into the afternoon. And speaking of which, this is a look at the rainfall forecast for today. So where we see more color is where the rainfall, the expected amount of rainfall is higher. So going out to the vicinity of the parts of the Bahamas, even Cuba, the Cayman Islands, Central America, there could be rainfall amounts, probably half an inch going up to an inch in total today. For Jamaica, not as much rain, but some downpours and thunderstorms will be possible across the island. Same thing for the Turks and Caicos, Haiti, the Dominican Republic. Could see some scattered showers, thunderstorms around Puerto Rico, the Virgin Islands as well, and through much of the Lesser Antilles. ABC Islands, we're seeing all those white shadings around and a few spots of gray. Very little rain, little to no rain actually today. And then as for Northern South America, going to coastal Colombia, you can see some of those very vibrant shadings of those pinks, and that is indicating rainfall amounts probably exceeding 3.5 inches or so today. So that area is likely to be active. And then for parts of Venezuela in the east, it's likely to be active as well. Same thing for sections of the Guyana. So for Guyana, Suriname, and French Guiana, likely to be active later today with some afternoon showers and thunderstorm activity. Now, we're going on to this disturbance here. For right now, it's not going to be quickly developing. So the formation chance holds at 20%, and it is going to continue moving generally to the west. And I even highlighted that yesterday when we looked at the ensembles for the Euro, how they were shifting a bit further south, suggesting a system making its way generally to the west. Now, the recent trends are very concerning in terms of the Caribbean. Of course, it's not 100% guaranteed, but it's very much plausible. And again, we're heading to that most active phase of the hurricane season, or the typically most active phase of the hurricane season. So let's head on to that. We're going to be looking at the GFS, the Euro, and the Canadian model runs, and then we'll be looking at the ensembles as well. So here we have it. We can see the different islands of the Caribbean and all these green shadings around some spots of yellows, oranges, reds. Now that is indicative of the precipitation rate. And those squiggly black lines you see are called isobars, and they join areas of equal atmospheric pressure. Now what we're looking for in terms of seeing development is those isobars being in a circular manner, but when they are very tightly packed, when there's a lot of them in that circular manner and they're very tightly packed, that is indicating a strengthening system. So there we have the time frame. Now this is as we're going to be heading into Tuesday of next week. Let's look at what GFS has to show. We can see all of that moisture associated with the disturbance moving in, and then we're seeing those isobars gradually getting more and more tightly packed. And then as we head to Thursday, go into Friday of next week, it is showing what could be a strong tropical storm or even a hurricane making its way over Jamaica. Of course, there could be shifts in the track, so this is not something guaranteed. So I'm not saying, hey, a hurricane is going to hit Jamaica, but it is very much a possibility as we're going to be heading into the latter part of next week. So roughly just over a week out from now. So let's move on to the Euro model. Starting out in the same time, go into Tuesday, we see the system gradually getting more and more organized, and Euro is actually showing a stronger system also affecting Jamaica as we're going to be heading into the latter part of next week. So it has maybe a tropical depression or storm crossing through the Lesser Antilles as we're going to be heading into Tuesday of next week, and eventually as the system continues towards the west and then starts making a west-northwest track, then it would make its way to the vicinity of Jamaica while strengthening. So it could potentially be a hurricane at the time. And then as for the Canadian model, Canadian is showing something very similar here as we're going to be heading into Wednesday. It has the system crossing through the Lesser Antilles, taking it on the west-northwest track, and it shows it more towards Hispaniola. So Canadian has more of a trend towards Hispaniola. However, last night it was also taking the system within the vicinity of Jamaica. So we see some consistency in the expected trajectory of the system, because a couple days ago, even yesterday, the models were very much all over the place. But as we are heading closer and closer to the time frame as the days go by, we start to see a trend, and now that trend is becoming a little bit consistent. So I'm going to keep watching for that consistency as we head into the next couple of days. So going on to the ensembles are showing something pretty much in agreement with what the runs are expected in terms of Euro. So as we head to the Euro ensemble tracks, here we can see this is for Tuesday evening of next week. All of these members here, well, not all, let's say around 95% of them are taking the system into the Caribbean. And we have a whole lot of them. So there is a very strong agreement. This is a very strong signal here. And again, the main Euro model was showing that the system could affect Jamaica as a hurricane. And then we can see that next set of members behind. That's for the second tropical wave coming off of Africa. So that one may actually curve up and out. I'm seeing that kind of consistent trend as well. And then for the GFS is showing that we could see the system enter the Caribbean, not as a strong a signal compared to the Euro members, but nonetheless, we have a decent amount of agreement with the GFS members that the system could make its way towards the Caribbean. We have a few showing it curving up and out, but for the main model itself, as we saw, it is showing something moving into the Caribbean and potentially strengthening into a hurricane. Now, ahead of the system, it's not organized. It is a broad low pressure area right now that is associated with a tropical wave. So it's not sustaining a whole lot of activity. However, the environment ahead of it, as it's going to be approaching and entering the Caribbean, is likely to be conducive. The sea surface temperatures well on their way, well over 30, even 31 degrees Celsius. And it's not just warm at the surface, it's warm beneath the surface. So there's a lot of energy packed to fuel whatever it tries to form and get itself together. So that is ahead of it. Even though a bit of dry air is around right now, we may not see any rapid formation in the short term. Hence the reason the chance is still holding at 20%. But as the system gradually approaches and once it starts getting itself together, the chance will start to increase. So again, we could have a hurricane in the Caribbean by the latter part of next week, but early to mid next week, we could see it enter the Caribbean at that time. Maybe it may strengthen into a depression or storm, but we'll have to wait and see. And as I said, I'll continue watching for these trends, but we kind of have a general consensus among the models right now in terms of the potential trajectory of the system, but the intensity may vary. But we know how it goes sometimes with a rapid intensification. That's definitely not something that's going to be off the table once the system is going to be making its way into the Caribbean. But I'm here to keep you guys updated. We're watching this very, very closely, and that's what I wanted to share with you for this morning. So if you do have any questions, please feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll respond to you when I have the chance to do so. And remember to always do otherwise.